Hi knob tweakers, and welcome to another Top 5 Friday, a magical place where your plug-in based dreams can become tantalizing reality. I'm Tim Cant, and like everybody, I'm totally skint right now, so this time we're looking at the top synths under 100 GBP, which I believe stands for good boy points. So prepare to save yourself some precious clams as we dive into an underwater world of hot mer people and very, very reasonably priced soft synths. If we've missed anything out, please do us a solid and let us know your top tips in the comments. So let's check out the top 5. At 5, it's TAL-u-no-LX. We're flying high with Ace at 4. Number 3 is the verdant Lush 101. At 2, it's the bottom heavy sub boom bass 2. And Synthmaster 1 asserts its dominance at number 1. At number 5, TAL-u-no-LX by TAL Software. If, like me, you love a bit of Roland, you are in for a treat because TAL-u-no-LX is the first of 2 Roland emulations in this roundup, recreating as it does the classic sounds of the Juno 60. This one is for analogue purists, emulating the original synth as closely as possible and only adding a couple of enticing extras such as LFO sync and an extra 6 voices, making for 12 in total. TAL-u-no-LX even includes the Juno 60's original factory presets, but its killer feature is the excellent chorus effect, which you can download as a separate effect plugin for free, even if you don't own the synth. So, being based on the Roland Juno 60, TAL-u-no-LX is quite a simple synth, but you can get some really great sounds out of it quite quickly. And what I'd like to show you now is a sort of big, bouncy bass sound you'd have found in late 80s house. So let's see what we've got with the default patch. We've got a sawtooth and a sub oscillator, so let's turn them off. Let's turn on the pulse instead. So we're gonna filter this and use the filter envelope to control the filter cutoff frequency. So let's turn down the sustain and turn up the decay to give us a sort of percussive feel. That's pretty nice, pretty close to what we want. I mean, the key with all these sounds is tweaking until you've got them exactly right. You see, we want the decay to be long enough so that we get that fundamental frequency in there for a bit and the harmonics on top of it. And we've got a little bit of sustain there so it doesn't disappear completely. Now the real key to this sound is the synth's chorus effect. So let's turn that on. And there's another chorus effect we can add as well. Oh, that's a bit much. Oh. So there you go, classic house bass for days and weeks. There's also another cool sound that I like. And for this one, you don't have to use an oscillator at all. In fact, we'll turn down the modulation on there. And we'll turn up the resonance. Now, when we turn up the resonance real high, it starts to self-oscillate. So, ooh. So this is a very cool way to make riser noises. Ooh, it can be quite ear-piercing. You can put the chorus on as well. If you want to make it stereo. Also, there's a noise oscillator that we can turn up and get some really piercing effects with that. Oh no, that's the high-pass filter. That'll never do. Ooh! And you can, if you want something a bit less severe, you can turn down the resonance so it's not self-oscillating. But it still gives you a nice bite. An atmospheric delight. At 4, Ace by Uhi. Ace stands for any cable everywhere, and that means this patchable semimodular synth is a playground of sonic possibilities. Ace offers 2 oscillators, 2 filters, 2 envelopes, 2 LFOs, and 2 ramp generators. And because of the way Ace is set up with its virtual patch cables, you can connect anything to anything, so you can use oscillators as LFOs and vice versa. Also on board are a suite of effects and an oscilloscope. If you find a cable scary, don't panic because you don't need to do any patching or whatsoever to get a decent sound out of Ace, and there are plenty of presets on board if you're not a huge synth boffin. For us, Ace's killer feature is its esoteric audio processors, slop, crosstalk, and the OSC cap failure, or the mapping generator, which changes its value every time a note is played. So Uhi's Ace is a great synth, but it can be a little bit confusing even if you've used modular or semi-modular synths before. But it's actually not that complicated, so we're going to quickly run through its sort of main capabilities and just see how they work. So we'll start off by turning the cutoff down. Now this knob down here is labelled LFO2 because it's a default routing from LFO2, which lives here. So if we turn that up, we'll turn up LFO2 as well. There we go, very simple. Now, you can also use cables which come from these outputs here and go to these inputs here. So any output can go to any input. So let's route from ADSR2 to this modulation and see what happens. So now ADSR2 is controlling the filter cutoff. Now LFO2, that control is gone now. The ADSR isn't controlling the level of LFO2's modulation amount. That's all done. It's just whatever you are routing from directly. And you can also route from non-modulation sources. You could route from an audio source. So let's say we use some white noise on this to modulate this. Interesting stuff. Also, let's take a little look at the mapper while we're here, which we mentioned earlier. So the mapper lives here. It's a mapping generator, and every time you play a note, it advances to the next value. So that's a lot of fun, and you can make your own wave shape for it too. So yeah, really loads and loads to get your teeth into there. And number 3, Lush 101 by D16 Group. Lush 101 is a recreation of the famous Roland SH101 synthesizer. It pushes the concept way beyond its original design. Lush 101 is multi-timbral, meaning that it can play up to 8 different layers, effectively 8-hole synth setups, which can be layered or split between MIDI channels or keys. Lush 101 is also polyphonic with a super saw mode for the saw wave and a pulse width control for the square wave. You also get arpeggiation and a choice of 8 effects, one for each synthesis layer you set up. Although, if you do want the sound of the original 101, it's very capable of that particular sonic throwback. Lush 101's killer features are its modulation powers that go way further than the originals did, offering 2 envelopes, 2 LFOs, and more destinations for them, seriously boosting the power of the original. Okay, so there's a lot going on in Lush 101, but the best way to demonstrate the difference between the original hardware and this plug-in version is to show you the voice stuff and stuff like the super saw and the unison. So let's have a look at just the default sounds. Let's make a little something with it. Okay, so this is the kind of your regular SH101 hardware sounds. We can change the sawtooth oscillator to a super saw, which is obviously pretty far removed from the original synth, but it gives you a lot more creative potential. And also there's another way to fan sounds up is to use the unison voices. So we'll turn them up, we'll pan them around stereo, set the tuning. We can have some cut off stuff, but oh yeah, crazy. So yeah, you can get a really fat sound really easily. And compounding that, you can have kind of 8 different synths here. So let's enable synth 2 and go to its interface. So we've got another synth layered up. Yeah, I mean, clearly it's a big old beef monster. And number 2, Sub Boom Bass 2 by Rob Papin. The original version of Sub Boom Bass is highly respected, and it's worried more woofers than a loose rhino in a dog shelter. Version 2 is deeper, darker, and even bassier than the original. The synth gives you two oscillators, each with a sub-oscillator slaved alongside it. The oscillator waveforms themselves give you a choice of classic analog, sample complex waveforms, and the new for version 2 spectral waves and string modeling oscillators. Subboom Bass 2 also offers two filters with 22 types and plenty of saturation and distortion options to get that nasty bass sound. And if you don't want to use every single parameter in Subboom Bass, there's an easy view where you can strip the interface back to the bare necessities. Subboom Bass 2's killer feature is its XY controller, which is a standard fixture on many other Rob Papen synths too. With the X and Y axes set to modulate different synthesis parameters, you can move the node in the XY display to change your sounds, and record and play back your movements too. You can't have sexy without XY, so let's take a little look at Subboom Bass 2's XY controller. First we're going to make a sound to process it with. That's pretty nice. Let's do a little bit of filtering. Now, I'm going to select the vocal filter here, which not only gives us a cutoff control, but also vowel control. Now, wouldn't it be just delightful if we could control both of those at the same time? Well, you can. You just select the XY pad. We'll set our X destination, that's the horizontal axis, I believe, to the filter frequency, and the Y vertical axis to the filter vowel. Turn up their gain controls a bit, and let's have a play. Real expressive. A cool thing you can do with the XY pad is record your movements. Let's have a go with that. And let's play it back. And we can make it trigger with each note. And control its speed as well. Let's loop it up. And there's another cool thing you can do with this as well, which is quantize the space. Not too noticeable there, but as we lower the resolution, computerized craziness. And at number 1, Synthmaster 1 from KV331 Audio. KV331's original Synthmaster is a feature-laden monster which made it onto our top 5 synths, and its little brother has done it proud by reaching the top spot of our budget synths roundup. You might be forgiven for thinking that this would be a cut-down version of the original Synthmaster, but this is a new synth built from the ground up, so it's inspired by the things that made the original version great in a simpler setting. For a budget synth, this is still a huge piece of work. Synthmaster 1 includes 150 wavetables sampled from classic synths, and you can also import your own. Synthmaster 1 is chock-a-block with synthesizer staples, 2 filters with 13 types, 2 LFOs, 4 envelopes, modulation routing, 11 tweakable effects, the list goes on. But Synthmaster 1's killer feature might just be its arpeggiator, which is a fully blown musical composition factory featuring 4 modes: classic pattern arpeggiator, chord arpeggiator, advanced arpeggiator, and a fully blown sequencer mode, which is basically a piano roll within the synth. Synthmaster 1 packs a lot of virtual analog power into a fairly straightforward interface. And I don't know about you, but whenever I get a new synth with unison voices, I want to hear those bad boys. So the first thing we're going to do is turn the volume level down so that we can whack in a massive 16 voices. Let's see what happens. Ooh, still kind of loud. Let's detune those. In fact, let's widen it first, and let's detune. That is nice. Let's have a listen to that from the start. Very, very lush. We can give it a bit of grit with some distortion too. And then why not filter it? We have a choice of filters here. Let's go for a state variable bandpass. that's, you know, we've got a nice nasty vibe there. Play a bit higher up. We get a bit of a sort of lead tone, but down at the bottom, ooh, we get some real crunchy atmospherics. So let's add some delay and reverb. So yeah, gorgeous sounds there from KV331 Audio. So there you have it, guys, a little bit of frugal fun for y'all. Right now I'm off to the gathering to get some much needed Nedden, but don't worry because Top 5 Friday will be back real soon with more noise-making antics. In the meantime, why not check out the demo versions of the synths in the description. Peace.